So a lot of people wonder, is it easy to make Roblox videos? Or maybe Roblox tutorials to be more exact. And I personally publish 4 videos a week right now, and I'm doing everything alone, which isn't really the easiest thing to do. But basically I'm going to take you guys through the whole process of me making these videos. So as usual, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and let's get into the video. And the first thing that I need to cover is, for example, how I get my video ideas. And there is actually a few ways for that. One is of course from you guys, from my community, since you guys leave a lot of suggestions. And of course if it's something like really specific, for example I remember one person asking me if I can do, I think it was Homelander's laser eyes. Because of the specificity, it's not really going to be a good tutorial, but if you guys for example ask if I can make a video on animations, I usually just cover that. And now there is also another place, which is Roblox's dev forum. And that's probably my second go-to place, and that's because it has the updates category right here, where if I go to it, you can see all of the newest latest topics, and for example one more was updated right here, but here you have a lot of release notes, as well as announcements made by Roblox. For example, you have stuff like the Future is Bright is fully rolled out on Android, and something that I made a video recently on was the script capabilities. And something that I'm going to make a video on later is going to be the new script editor hover tips and user-defined function documentation, which is a pretty neat update, which is going to let you make a documentation right from the source code. But more on that in the future video. And there is always a lot of stuff popping up on this page every day, but there are also other categories, like for example the resources. And this is where I get ideas for Smartbone, maybe Windshake, the recently found distance fade, and so on. And this is again worth checking out even if you are not a content creator, but a Roblox developer, since the community makes a lot of great resources. And also since we are on the YouTube platform, the other thing except the comments are YouTube recommendations on the home page, where if I just go to them right now, here is a video recommended to me by Crusherfire about Roblox just dropping the best studio update. And this is about the code documentation that we just checked a minute ago, where I can recommend that you guys watch this video too. But we also have different stuff like the Moon Animator, where I can actually write this on my to-do list right now, since I haven't made a video on it yet. And there is also a sneak peek of some kind of a system that I can basically just check right now. And this is like an FPS combat framework. So there is a lot of stuff to get inspired by on the YouTube home recommendations. You have different stuff from different creators like the UI plugin, the building tutorial, and so on. But this is not everything yet. YouTube has also great tools for creators. One of them is going to be in the analytics page, and also another different one called inspiration. So let's just overview them right now. So under the analytics page, I can go to the audience and basically see different stuff like the channels that your audience watches, that I can of course go to and see what kind of videos these people are making. Where if I again go to Byteblocks right now, what every other single YouTuber is going to recommend is to find a formula that basically works. And the best way to find that formula is go to a different channel than to the videos tab, and then just search from the popular. And here you can see for example a video about a fake warning message, as well as a lot of different great videos that you can of course take inspiration from. And I also have a video on this viewport frame right here too, and that's because this idea was recommended to me on my homepage. And I also left a comment under this video right here too. And you basically have a lot of channels to check out, same with the what your audience watches tab, where you have different stuff like the magnitude hitboxes, the how do you make impossible Roblox features, something about the hand and the distance based force fit again, and again a lot of different videos that you can get inspiration from. And on the topic of inspiration, I always think that you should give proper credit to people if your video might be on more of the copying side instead of, you know, the definition of actual inspiration. And now about the inspiration YouTube tab itself. Again, it's going to be under the channel analytics, and it's going to be right here. And now this page is actually really great, since YouTube gives you direct insight to what people are looking for example on how to get good at scripting in Roblox Studio, then how to make better hitboxes, how to make moving parts, and how to for example use module scripts. And you can even hear these ideas, and they are going to go to the save tab right here, where I have the how to use module scripts and how to script in Roblox Studio. And you can also view more of them, and this is going to give you a lot of different ideas too. Then you have something called breakout videos, where from the definition, this card highlights well-performing content from other content creators who are similar to your channel. And this helps provide you with inspirational ideas for your next piece of content that is tailored to your audience. And there isn't too much Roblox Studio stuff in here, because I think the algorithm would need to work a little bit more on the specificity. We basically just have like 3 different goofy videos right here. But anyways, you also have the same stuff for shorts and new videos to inspire you. And I wouldn't really look on the first 2 ones, But again, here is a Byblox's video and a lot of Chase Ceruni's news content. And speaking about this content, these news videos are also worth checking out because these may contain something that you missed, for example while looking on the dev forum. And if it comes to these news channels, you also have different social media accounts, so for example places like Twitter, where you have Roblox's RTC, RBX news, maybe even Roblox developer news accounts and so on. And lastly, if it comes to the video ideas, I've been working in Roblox Studio for a few years and I also have a lot of knowledge about it, so at first I was making tutorials on stuff that I was basically using, like module scripts, different frameworks and different engine features. And trust me, there is always something to make a video on, where for example my content is mainly educational, but there are constant updates, news and features that I can cover. And this about sums it up for the video ideas. I think this is actually going to cover most of this video, but yeah. Let's move to the second point right now, where if I for example have an idea for a video, the next thing I need to think about are going to be the title, thumbnail and the information that I need to research. And that information is again going to come from the dev forum, since again most of the stuff that I need to know is already written right here. And then there is Roblox's Creator Hub, that also has a lot of information in it, that has the documentation right here, where I can for example just go to the scripting, which is going to have a lot of different tabs, but an easier way would be to basically just search it in Google. If I wanted to for example go to the lightning, then go to the documentation from this page. And there are also other community resources like tutorials on for example the dev forum page or even YouTube itself. And sometimes people also have documentation on the GitHub on different frameworks, like for example the Smartbone, Zone Plus or Windshake. And now if it comes to titles and thumbnails, I'm basically going to overview them later, since this is the period where I basically think about what I want to do. If I have an idea for a title or a thumbnail, I'm basically just going to write it down and then execute it later. And some people may even say that it's best if you make the thumbnail first and then make the video, but it's basically just dependent on a person. But once I have the idea and the information that I need, I basically just get to recording, where I basically just use OBS. And for example, I'm just going to record myself walking right here. So let's just imagine that I recorded a video, right? And right now I will basically need to edit it. And if it comes to me publishing 4 videos a week, I basically use a special tool called an auto editor, which is automatically going to cut every single silent part from my video, so I don't have to edit that manually, which I'm going to show right now. And this is a folder with all of my videos. I'm going to record it in these 2 segments because I just want to show how I edit, for example, this test file, which I'm really quickly going to rename. So we have the test.mov, and you can see that there are these altered files. And you might know why these are here if you already know about the tool I'm using. But basically, I can open the command prompt from this folder, and what this is going to allow me to do is copy a special line of code. And that line of code is going to be from the auto editor, where I have the auto editor, then the file, and I export it to DaVinci Resolve with an audio margin of 0.01 seconds, and I need to use the edit prefix to have it work with every audio track. Where if I just change the a.mov to test.mov and then hit enter, what this tool is going to do is basically just automatically cut every single one of the silent parts in audio and automatically edit that for me. So now we have the altered file right here that I can import to DaVinci Resolve, which I'm basically going to do right now. And DaVinci Resolve basically being my go-to edit software. So I am in my tutorial file right now. And right now I need to import the altered file into DaVinci Resolve by going to the master tab, then pressing right click, then timelines import and then select the first option, or just use the Ctrl+Shift+I shortcut. Then I basically just select the file and open it, and here it's going to say the resolution, the frame rate, which are the main 2 things. But after checking everything, I can basically just press on OK, and we are going to have the file with basically all of the audio cut out. And I need to do a little bit of fixing right here, because the auto editor has a problem if it comes to like the first few seconds of the video. But now I'm really quickly going to present my editing process, where firstly I'm just going to play the video and for example delete some of these parts where I could be repeating myself, where this is going to be a part of the footage that I'm going to show how to edit later. But this would be the part where, for example, I repeated myself right here, so I can delete this clip. But this would be the part where I constantly choose, and same with this one right here. Thing that I'm making a tutorial on, that I make in my usual video, and same with these 2 fragments right here. And lastly this one there. And after I'm done with, if you know, I usually do this thing in my videos where I have it zoom out at the beginning, so it's just going to be like this. Then if I want to, for example, just zoom something out whenever I'm saying an important part, I basically just move it out, meaning that this clip is going to be transformed, or I can either zoom it in or zoom it out. So now this fragment is going to play like this. Basically just overview the thing that I'm making a tutorial on. And I also do a lot of different stuff, like put the Patreon credits that I can get from, for example, this video right here, where I can just paste it in and it's basically just going to play the credits, and same with the music track and everything else. And I usually just put my audio on a little bit of a lower volume, and this is mostly because I have to record it on my higher volume because of my filters in OBS, sometimes not catching the proper words. But after I'm done with editing, I'm just going to play the video for the last time, basically to check if everything is alright. Where this is going to be a part of the footage that I'm going to show how to edit later. But this will be the part where I basically just... And after I see that everything is alright, I can go to the Deliver tab, then name this one something like Roblox Tutorial, have it in my videos folder, then I'm going to add it to queue, and just render it by pressing on this button right here. And I'm just going to actually stop the render. And again, to show why the auto editor is a great tool, you can compare it from these two files right here. One is the file and one is the timeline. The orange parts right here are meaning that a portion from this file is existing in this timeline, and the gray ones mean that it's not. But basically without the auto editor, I would have to go here, then listen to basically this frame, then do the same thing at the end, then go to this one, listen to the right audio, did again, and after I'm done with all of the I would have to delete them manually like so, and this is only like a minute long clip, but usually my recordings take around 40 minutes. So you can see how basically just going through already edited clips and just editing them is going to be way faster than having to edit everything out manually. But yeah, and for example, this is how the file basically looks like for the Magic VFX. And also I'm going to leave a link down in the description to the auto editor, as well as a tutorial I followed on how to basically use it. But you have all of the different stuff, like for example how the edit prefix works, which is even going to give you examples. And that's for the editing part, and now let's cover on how I make my thumbnails. And this is again not going to be the easiest process, since I started using a new formula, which again I'm going to show right now. And the first thing I do is usually just get my character from Studio, place it somewhere, and then export this rig into Blender, where I would just press on the right click, then export selection, and then import in Blender, but already have it done, and this video is going to be long enough. So I'm actually just going to hop right into Blender now. And this is the character from the most recent thumbnail, and also another one that has some of different materials. So let me just change that maybe, and it should actually be like this. But for example, I have the graphic right here from my previous video that I made, and my imported character that I also had to edit out manually because I needed to connect all of these different body parts, since while you are exporting on Roblox, it's going to split out the mesh into few different parts. So that was a little bit of work. But basically, I also needed to set the origin point for these body parts, because I kind of just don't need to animate them. I only need to set the pose for the thumbnail, so having something like this is going to be alright. And how I have it set up, right now I'm using the material preview from the Eevee rendering engine, but if I go into render, you can see that it's kind of different. And that's because I also needed to change something up, which was actually the word light, which is using a setup from a tutorial that I'm going to leave down in the description. But basically, I have a background color that's going to shine some light on my character, for example, and this is only to give it a little bit more depth, to for example choose the right color palette for the character while making the thumbnail. And I'm not exactly sure on what every single one of these nodes does, but I'm basically just using two different suns that if I unplug, it's not exactly going to shine light on the character, at least on some of these parts. But basically once I have everything done, I can basically just preview everything by selecting the camera, then going to the view, then cameras and the active camera, and again choose the render. And I see that everything is alright, so I usually just press F12 to render the scene. And this one gave me this image, but for the thumbnail I kind of needed to basically just hide this from the render, since I needed to render the object separately. But now once I have the render and the images, I basically just go into Photoshop. And I'm actually just going to show the preview style of my thumbnails first, where I open my thumbnail preset file. So I'm basically just going to hide everything from this thumbnail right here, as well as this one, and basically make a new layer. Then group it, and then the name of the group is going to be what I make a video on, so this one is going to be test. And the first thing I need for a thumbnail is going to be either the background or the thing that I'm making the thumbnail on, which I get from this place right here, which is well my thumbnail place. And I store every single one of the objects from the thumbnail in the server storage, So I can take out something like, for example, the CSG, place it in the workspace, and this is going to be one of my thumbnail parts. And I can either make it in two ways. I can just publish this to Roblox and then just play the game, and I usually just go into the free cam, then zoom into the object and get the thumbnail like so. Then just paste it in Photoshop, zoom it in a little bit, and just enable the speed lines. Then I basically just mess around with the hue and saturation, just depending on the object in the thumbnail like this. And then just export it and have the thumbnail ready. But now I'm actually just going to cover the new style. And for the new style I kind of had to think of a different background, and that's why, for example, I have these effects right here. Because I can again go to the free cam, do something like, for example, this, and again take a screenshot. Then just paste it in, and this is going to be the background for my thumbnail. And just don't mind this part right here because this is only for the testing. And then I need to open up the renders, where this is the first one, and this is the effect right here. So I'm just going to paste them into the folder. And then this one was around here. Then I'm just going to group this one really quickly, and then just move it a bit lower. So I have the background and the character, and now I will need to apply some settings to the character itself to make it stand out in the thumbnail, and I usually just have two different settings. So I open the layer style by basically just double clicking on the layer, but the settings that I want to enable are going to be the stroke, and this should be around 8 pixels, and it should also be black, and the opacity should be on 100%. Then the next thing is the inner shadow, which already has the proper settings, basically giving another outline to the character. But if, for example, the character was looking in the different direction, I could just change the angle to make it stand out even more. And then for this part right here, I basically just duplicated this and then changed the one below to basically have a blur, maybe around 4 or 5. And on the thumbnail this one was blue, so I also need to change the color by adding a color overlay, like this, and same to the blur. And this one was a bit different in the thumbnail, but like I said, this video is already going to be long enough, so I'm not going to work on this one too much. But after having the character and the background, I need to add a text layer above the background that's going to say some random stuff like the magic VFX that it said previously. And this one I'm going to make bigger and then position it a little bit higher, then go to the character tab and just change the height of the letter, then move it right here. Then I need to move the character again a little bit lower, or maybe make it a little bit smaller, just so it doesn't cover too much of the text, since you guys recommended to me that it's going to make it basically harder to read. Then I can just group the text, and that's because I can't apply normal effects to a normal text object, but I can do the group. And what I want to add is just the drop shadow. And then from the group that's holding the text, I basically just want to change this to color dodge from right here. And nothing is going to change now, because again I need to mess around with the hue values on this image first. And something around that is good, but this is not really a proper thumbnail now, and that's mostly because of the background, that I again need to change a little bit. So this time I'm going to position it like this, and to give it a proper effect again, I'm going to blur it out. And this one can have a little bit more blur, maybe even around 9 radius. And now this is starting to become a proper thumbnail. But now the thumbnail from my previous video also had something different, which were these speed lines. But these speed lines weren't really on the top, they were actually below the character. So I'm just going to duplicate the layer, then hide the VFX, and move the copy above the background right here. And I basically just have two different ones, but I only need one of them. Now this text is going to have these speed lines, so I will need to kind of remove them. And I can simply do that by selecting the layer while holding Ctrl, so it's going to make a selection, and while being on the main, which is the VFX, I can simply press on delete. And it's going to get rid of these lines. So now we have a similar thumbnail, which isn't the same exact one, since this one is a little bit worse. But again, this was only made for a video, just to show you guys the process of me making this. So yeah, and now if it comes to titles, again, the best place for it is going to be YouTube again, where if you don't have a title idea, you can basically just study what other YouTubers are doing, where you can, for example, again use the previously shown tools, or again just go to the homepage, where you are going to have a lot of things to basically just study on. And if I go to my channel, for example, you can kind of see that there is a pattern with my titles, where basically the first word is going to be Roblox. But with this video I'm kind of experimenting with stuff while basically just testing, but also the title pattern is going to be kind of like, you know, making insane VFX, where it's going to include the thing from the video, while also having some sentence enhancements. And if you are really stuck with a video title, you can, for example, even use AI tools, like even for example ChatGPT, to give you video title ideas. And just to show the getting ideas more, like you can see that there is some of the stuff that basically works with few of my videos. and I mostly mean like this for right here, where for example I'm saying that X is Y, saying that the force field material is underrated, why the person might wonder why this is underrated, for example. Same with the possibilities on the glass and, for example, a feature being finally possible. And this is kind of weird looking at my old avatar, but anyways, or maybe just overall saying that something is possible too. Or the video title can be basically just explaining what the video is fully about. Like for example these two tutorials. But again, it's going to be best if you check it out yourself and keep experimenting. But overall, just to sum it up, like the three main aspects of my titles are basically Roblox, then what the title is about, and some sentence enhancements. I mainly just combine these three things just to come up with a random title idea. Yeah, that was basically a lot to cover, and I'm not going to show you the part of me uploading the video to YouTube because this is just a lot of basic stuff and wouldn't really count as the same process of making everything. But anyways, that's going to be basically everything for today. So again, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Also check out my Patreon page. We have recently hit over 200 members on there, so I'm thankful for you guys. But yeah, thank you for watching, hope everyone had a nice day and see you guys.